What's the plan today?
All right, well, welcome to G period finance accounting class, last one of the year. We'll make it painless as possible. Just a couple of announcements. I didn't check, so a couple of things going on. If you didn't turn in that exercise with how to read a pay stub, do so today, because they've told us don't take any. Everything has to be submitted by today because we have to turn in our grades on Tuesday morning. And it's a holiday for teachers and faculty. I think the school's going to be closed down Friday through Monday. Tomorrow they're having Father Adrian's funeral here, but it's just for the monks and close family members. So it's going to be kind of a small group, and then they're going to do a larger event later, maybe summer, early fall. I'm just guessing. I don't know. So if you haven't turned it in, please do so today. Let's see here. What else do I have to talk about? I think that's it. If you want to check behind me in black bottom, again, do so for any missing work and get that submitted today. You may have an M in there that you didn't think you had because maybe you submitted something without your name on it and I didn't give you credit for it. Because I didn't, unless people have real distinct handwritings, I can't tell whose is whose. Let's see. I think that's it. Any questions for me, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Coach, I couldn't get to the worksheet. It didn't let me see it.
Via Blackbaud?
Yeah, it was in Blackbaud. Like I saw where it was, but like when I clicked on it, it just showed up like a white document. Like it wasn't anything on it.
There was no print or anything?
Mm-mm.
Did anybody else have that problem?
What, sir?
Did anybody else have that problem?
With what?
Nah, it worked.
The homework works, sir.
He's just trying to make up excuses.
Yeah, sir. We turned it in. It was easy, sir.
Okay. Mr. Cullen, send me an email requesting it, and I'll send a PDF to you. Just
Right.
I need the pay stub reading exercise, and it may be like 2:30 because I got the next two classes in office hours. Just send me an email so I recall to do that.
Okay.
All right. Any other housekeeping chores?
Love you, sir.
All right. I love you too. Okay. Here's the plan. We're going to wrap up chapter 11 today with the two last videos on basically cover the best practices of successful people. And just to kind of reiterate, with the fees you paid for this class, actually back, or your parents paid last summer, you've got access to that foundationsu.com website. So there's a lot of useful tools on there that you can use both for some of the mathematical calculations that we did cover and some things that we didn't cover. And the other nice thing, as I mentioned on Tuesday, is that resume creator. All right, and it also has access to typical interview questions. So if you're getting ready here in the next week or two to go out and seek summer employment, and you're going to be interviewed, there's kind of a standard can of questions that most HR people or most people are going to hire you're going to ask. And so I would encourage you to print that out or at least look at it, and then kind of formulate in your head. You might even jot some notes down on an index card or a small slip of paper, so that you kind of have kind of answers semi-formulated in your mind to answer it. And I think you'll come across more professional, a little more with it. So you can use that. And then also in the next day or two, I'll open up all the other chapters, because we did chapters 1 through 7, and then we skipped 8, 9, 10, which was dealt with like taxes and retirement, since that's a couple years down the road for you guys. And then there's chapters 12 and maybe a 13. I'll open those up. So if you want to get on and look at any of the videos for those, you can do that. I think when we signed you guys all up, I think it'll run probably through either January 1st or January 15th. It might be the 1st. That's probably their fiscal year. So if you want to look at any of the other stuff or access any of the other information, that's available to you. And I will open those up. You can actually even look at the test if you want to. You really get bored and want to do that. Any questions for me before we get going? Everybody good? All right. So we got 2 videos, totaling 11-minute, 8-minute, and an 8-minute video. So 20 minutes of videos, and we can maybe stick a fork in it and be done before the actual quitting time. All right. So here we go.
Companies don't start out looking for you. They have a specific need and they're trying to meet the need. Truett Cathy of Chick-fil-A says, we don't hire people because they need a job, we hire them because we need them. Companies aren't running a ministry, they're going, oh, come over here and work so you'll be fulfilled. That isn't why people hire people. They say, oh gosh, we're short on this. If we don't get this done, we're going to have a problem. So we need to hire somebody to get this done. And then you come along going, well, I wonder how I fit into getting that done. And you've got to really look, and do you fit into getting that done? And the company's bringing you on board. You got to think about that when you're looking for a job, when you're choosing career direction. I mean, this book right here is fabulous on this idea of picking out the right thing to do with your life. This book is Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's one of the best-selling books in the last decade in business. One of the chapters in this book where they studied good companies that went from good to great, they said the companies that go from good to great have an ability to get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, but most importantly of all, get the right people on the right seat on the right bus. And if you get people functioning in their strengths, you take your company from good to great. If you function in your strength, you get to be a part of taking your company from good to great. And your income will reflect that long term. Develop a strategy once you decide you're looking for something. Identify the target. Don't just go, I need a job. Now let's say I want a career. I want to go in a certain direction. Target the type of thing you're looking for. Look at stuff like the newspaper, online job postings in, employment agencies, networking. Pursue a company that you already know and love. Maybe they don't have a job listed. Most of the best jobs don't ever get listed. You know that, don't you? It's a friend of a friend. It's networking and those kinds of things. Only 15% of the jobs come out of the newspaper. You know, so, I mean, I hardly would waste my time with that. I'd look just for the fun of it. But you know, you need to be thinking about other ways to open a door and go, you've got a job that needs to be done, and I'm the guy, I'm the gal to do it. And let me show you how and why. And they go, well, I didn't even know we needed that done, but that's a good idea. You might make us more than you cost us. Come on. And that's how people get hired into great positions of doing something they love. So learn everything you can about this company. Research them, study them, read their website, learn about talk to the people that work there. Take somebody that works there to lunch, spy on them. They love it, okay? They love it. It's how you get their attention. You go, this matters. And you plug yourself into something there and people get fired up. You'd be amazed how you get hired that way. When it comes to contacting the company, think of it like starting a new relationship with a person. If you were going to start a relationship with a person, have you ever walked up to someone at a party or maybe a wedding reception, something like that, where everybody's just standing around talking, a bunch of strangers, and they walk up, and especially guys will say something like, what do you do? And somebody will start telling you what they do. And you really were just trying to create a conversation. You really did not want to hear all that they have ever done. You know, I mean, they'll give you their resume. People will talk on end about themselves, and you really didn't want to know all that. You know what I'm talking about in a conversation where it's all one-sided? That's not a relationship, is it? That's what sending out a resume to somebody who didn't ask for your resume is. It's all about me. Look at me. I'm great. Don't put me in the pile with all those others. Look at me. That's not a relationship. And you won't get hired that way very often. Very few of us have ever gotten high-quality jobs straight off of resumes. It isn't working that way. So instead, after you target the company where you'd most like to work, you're going to contact them at least 3 times. Send out an introduction letter. Dan Miller talks about this in 48 Days to the Work You Love. Then send a cover letter with a resume. But introduction letter could just say something like, hey, think you guys are awesome. I want to, over the next little while, I want to develop a dialogue with you. I want to develop a relationship with you. One step is you're going to be seeing another letter coming soon with a resume. You can toss the resume if you want, but don't toss the letter because I'm going to be following up. And then I'm going to be following up on a certain date. Expect my phone call on Friday, the 20th. I'll be calling on that day. And then when you call, they go, wow, this guy said he was going to call, and he called. This is a weird guy. Because most people are like, I can't call. They'll think I'm too forward, or I'm too scared, I'm backward. I don't want to. Just set up a game plan and a process here and follow this thing right down the natural event as if you were trying to get a date. You're building a relationship. Keep in mind, 98% of these companies are small businesses. They operate on relationships. They don't operate on policies and procedures. That's not who's hiring. Policies and procedures are the government. Nobody follows that in the real world except those unusual jobs like that. Interviews and jobs come from persistent follow-up and networking. That's where they come from. Unsolicited resumes have a 10% success rate, and classified ads have a 15% success rate. That's what studies tell us. It's interesting, we have a guy on our team right now that is absolutely fabulous team member. And he had crashed a business situation and really was kind of down on his luck a little bit. And he was working at one of the big box construction stores, like a Lowe's, a Home Depot type of a thing, right? And just to get some money. He was just to eat money, you know, while he looked for something to do and get back up on his feet and kind of get his, you know, kind of shake that thing off from getting knocked down. You know how it is. Do you know how it is? Say yes. And he sent in the resume, and in our place we get lots of resumes. I told you we got several hundred folks on our team, and so it got in the pile with the resumes, and you know, and it was, you know, we never really got around to it, and he wrote me this cool email telling me this story, and he's a storyteller. And he told me the story about 2 Dave Ramsey listeners and readers who came into the store. Both of them walked up to him at the same time talking about this piece of equipment laying in this construction area of the store, and it had opened, the box was open, and they both are trying to get a bargain on different parts of it, and they looked at each other and kind of high-fived and both went, Dave Ramsey. And he told the story better than I did. And I laughed when I read it. It was kind of cute. And he said, I couldn't resist because I'm a Dave Ramsey listener too, and I gave them both a deal. And I went and got the manager, and we gave them a deal. Because it was just cute. They both got what they wanted, and the store got rid of the item, whatever it was, and this kind of thing. But the way he told the story, it was obvious he was a writer. It's obvious he's a storyteller. And in all the stuff we do around our organization, we tell stories because it's about people's lives. So we have to have those kinds of people on our team. And I got that email out, and I was reading it one morning in our staff meeting. And I read that. I said, this is a cute story I got on email. I was just sharing it with our whole team one morning. And I finished it, and I said, you know what? We need to hire that guy. And you know, we hired him by the end of the week. But his resume was already down in the stack, and we didn't even know it was there. It wasn't because we were trying to diss him. And he's on our team right now. Why? Because he used a different approach that showed his talents, connected with us in the way we think and have a philosophy inside of our organization, and boom, he got the job he wanted.
Sometimes when it comes to finding a job, it feels like there's a lot of pressure. Where do you start? What do you do to find a good job? How do you make sure you're making the right decisions if you're a job seeker? Well, there's 3 things I want to tell you about that. 3 very simple things that I think you need to keep in mind. Number 1, finding a job is about circles. It's about figuring out 3 different circles. The first circle is geography. The second is industry. And the third is permanence. So let's talk about that. When you graduate from college or when you leave high school and say, I want to have a job, your first circle is geography. And it can be really small. You can say, I want to work in this city. I grew up in this city. I love this city. This is where I want to work. And then your industry circle can be small too. You can say, I got a major in this. I want to be in this industry specifically. I majored in journalism and advertising. I want to be at an ad agency. And then permanence. I only want to look for full-time jobs. I'm not going to take temp work. And then as you go on with your job search, if things don't happen for you, you start to expand those circles. The circles get wider. So if you don't find a job in a few months and you start to get nervous, open up that geography circle. Say to yourself, okay, I'm going to look for work in Nashville and Memphis. Or I'm going to look for work in Birmingham and Montgomery, or San Diego and Los Angeles. Widen that circle. Same with the industry. Okay, I have this type of major, but this other industry is similar, so I'm going to widen that circle and not just be so specific. Or maybe permanence too. You go, okay, in addition to full-time, I'll also take some contract work. That's the first thing, is keep those 3 circles in mind. The second thing is focus on results, not goals. Here's the number one mistake people make with their resumes. At the very top, everyone puts this paragraph that says goals or objectives. And then they write this horrible paragraph full of things like, I want to work in a people-based environment where people do great work and I'm awesome, blah, 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 blah. And nobody reads it. If you want somebody to read your resume, don't put your goals up there, put your results. Find one amazing thing you did each year in the last 4 years, in college or at other jobs you've had, and create a winning paragraph. These are the things I did to win, and here's why I'm going to do them at your company. I did that with my resume, and sometimes people would call me up and they wouldn't have even read the rest of the resume. They just quote that paragraph. So write a results paragraph. And the third thing is get social. When you don't have a job, your job is to find a job. And the best place to start is on social media. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if you were an out-of-work nurse, you couldn't plug into a community of nurses and connect with other people. But now you have that chance. So maybe you want to start a blog. Maybe your industry loves blogging. And when you go to get hired at a company, they're going to ask about your blog. Maybe you need to follow some industry experts on Twitter. There's so many ways that you can get social with your goals. So remember, the 3 things you need to do as you're looking for a job is 1, remember, it's about circles. Number 2, results, not goals. And 3, get social.
All right. You brought out a couple key points in there. At the beginning, he said, they're hiring you, particularly if they keep this in mind, if you're looking for some employment, not because you need them, it's because they need you. And what value do you bring to the company? And what you've got to bring in more to that company than what it costs for you to be there. So just kind of keep that in mind. Another thing he mentioned about is, he said it a different way, but it's a lot of it is who you know, not what you know, and that's the networking part of it. LinkedIn is a huge networking device in the business world. And as you start developing a resume and work experiences and additional education, LinkedIn is a great way to go. There's a lot of hiring and job jumping around via LinkedIn. My wife's an HR person for a company. Actually, he's an addicting graduate from the 70s. If you know Value Pack, he was instrumental in that, and he sold that. Now he does online advertising for local businesses, and a lot of their hiring is done through LinkedIn. So what you know is important, but it's who you know is even more important. I think I briefly discussed on Tuesday that 2 of my sons have jobs based on networking through fraternity brothers' parents, through parents of kids that they've coached. So it's not just done by he mentioned, I think it was 15% of the jobs are done through classified ads in the newspaper. That's a very small amount. It's you never know who's kind of looking and watching you and evaluating you and sizing you up as far as potential work down the road. So just kind of keep that in mind. A couple other things he mentioned, which I think are important, and just again, personal experiences through my wife doing HR. She's always impressed when you bring in someone and you interview them, and then later that day or next morning, she gets a follow-up email saying something to the effect that, hey, I appreciate you having me in to interview. I enjoyed learning more about your company. I appreciate your time and interest in me and look forward to hearing back from you real soon. Something along those lines. Again, I think you mentioned it, you're building a relationship and you're trying to demonstrate what value you bring to that company. And if you do go out on interviews, I would not walk in the door empty-handed. I would go on that foundationsu.com website and create a basic resume. It doesn't have to be detailed, doesn't have to be involved. You could probably do it in less than an hour or two. Maybe get a brother, sister, or parent to look over your shoulder and critique it to make sure there's no typos or misspellings or bad grammar, that kind of thing. But it's a leave behind. I mean, they're not going to offer you a job based on your resume solely, but it's really your contact information, address, phone numbers, mail address, email address. So you want to make it as easy on them as possible to seek you back out to hopefully offer you a position. And like I said, you can on that foundationsu.com website just hit the tools button up at the top, and there's some templates there. And I said you can crank one out in less than an hour, but make sure you get it proofed and have a couple other folks look over your shoulder at it to make sure there's errors stick out, and you don't want that to be. You don't want to have some goofy stuff or improper stuff or some blatant errors on a resume kick you out of the potential pool of being hired. And as that one gentleman said, he's not a big proponent of, I want to save the world and have world peace and feed the polar bears and all that stuff under your goals. If you could mention a couple projects or things that you were successful in, either here at school or in an athletic capacity, put your accomplishments and your successful ventures on there more so than your goal statements. Any thoughts, comments on any of that? All right.
Sir, I got the worksheet to work.
You did? Okay, good. Let's see here. We got one more, and then we'll have a last round of discussion and call it a day and a year.
Sir, is it all right if I send it in like a Word document? Because I couldn't figure out how to make the worksheet like a Word doc to where I could type on it. So I just opened a Word doc and answered the question.
Probably not online.
Yeah, you can do that.
All right.
Let's see.
Wow, Nick, the Giants, they're good.
Wow, Tola, do your homework for once.
Thinks my GPA is not higher than yours?
Complaining about not doing the homework.
Start slamming.
Tola line about the homework. Thinks me and Jeb couldn't find it.
Easy it was.
Hey, folks, you are listening to The Dave Ramsey Show. Common sense for your dollars and cents. Up next is Nick in Chicago. Hey, Nick, what's up in your world?
Hey, Dave. I'm only in high school. Besides education after high school, what are some goals I should be setting for myself, and how can I stay focused on those with so many distractions in my life?
Well, that's a good question, Nick. I appreciate you calling in with that. Goals are a funny thing. You're always going to have distractions. As a matter of fact, I think the biggest problem with hitting goals is not the strain to get to the goal. It's the strain to not be distracted. The things that get in your way. And so it's really wise for you to ask that question. I think it's always good to have several types of goals and several sizes of goals. For instance, you could have an intellectual goal that is just, I want to read a book. I want to read a book on business or a book on leadership, or I want to read a book on art or whatever. And that's a fairly small goal. But then you could say, I wanted to get a degree, a 4-year degree, and go to college in art or in business. Well, that's a big goal. And so in each area of your life, set some small, very achievable goals, and then also have those big dream type goals in there as well, and then break them down incrementally on what you've got to do to make that happen. Meaning the big goal, how do you eat an elephant a bite at a time? The big goal of going to college, well, you got to register for college, and then you got to choose a college, and then you actually have to move to the city and go to that college. There's
there's a lot of things involved in that. We all kind of know that in our minds, but if you'll break your goals down into smaller, achievable steps, it helps with the distraction. Hey, good call, man. Thanks for calling in, Nick.
You need to present yourself well. You got to do the basic stuff, right? You know, you got to go in there and know you're the product. I got to have the best product. I got to look sharp. I'm going for a job interview, right? And I'm amazed the people that come into our organization that really don't have a clue they're there trying to impress someone. Dude, I wouldn't even let you come to my house as a guest wearing that. And you want to come to work here wearing that? I mean, I don't know. I mean, some of these people, I mean, bless their hearts. I mean, there's some things you can do dressed that way with hair that looks like that. And there's some things you can, you know, there are, it's okay to be in a punk rock band if it looks like you fell into a tackle box, you know? But, right? And don't send me a bunch of hate mail. I'm not mad at you for piercings. That's not the point. But I mean, I'm not thinking bank teller. Bank teller doesn't come to mind, does it? Does bank teller pop into your head? So your appearance affects your ability to get a job, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not thinking estate planner. Are you thinking estate planner right now? I go into an attorney's office to hire someone to defend me against a corporate lawsuit. This is not coming to mind, is it? If this guy's personal assistant looks like this isn't coming to mind, is it? So there are some things that are inappropriate for the job. And, you know, and if you're going to be around anything that's like, I don't know, maybe if you were near a magnet, it would be bad. I don't know. I mean, that's really cool if you're on Venice Beach, right? But it's not going to work inside of a bank. You know, so you got to think about your appearance. It does affect things. Well, it shouldn't. Well, I know, but it does. And that's a reality. So when you're on a job interview, you've got to think about this stuff. Be on time. Address everyone by name. Offer a firm handshake. Maintain eye contact. Most people say you get hired or fired in the first 30 seconds of an interview. And that's before you ever sat down. Simply in how you introduced yourself, how you walked up. Were you arrogant? Did you hold the stare too long to where someone was uncomfortable? Did you dress in such a way that it was totally weird and inappropriate? Not necessarily fashionable, not necessarily unfashionable. Some of you ladies weren't thinking about how you dressed yourselves, particularly, and a guy comes out there and he's uncomfortable. You know, these are things you really, really have to keep in mind. You've got about 30 seconds, and they're going to make a call on you right then. And that's going to make or break whether or not you move forward with that organization most of the time. You know, Zig Ziglar tells a story that he was out to eat one time, and a young guy came up to waiting on him at his table, and Zig's a kind and nice man, and he's a very interesting guy, though. And this young man had the multiple piercings again, looked like he fell into a tackle box or something, and he's, and Zig said, "How do you like all that stuff on your face?" And he said, "I really like it. I enjoy it. It's kind of a different thing." And he said, I think it's pretty interesting too. He said, "I got to tell you, I would fight and die for your freedom to be able to do that. But I wouldn't hire you for a job." Designate a time to follow up and then do it. If you leave the interview saying, "I'll just check back with you later," and you call 62 times, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Or you're just going, "Oh, should I call? Have I called too much?" It's like calling that girl in high school. I don't want to call too much. I don't want to seem like too pushy, but I really want to let her know I'm interested in what's the balance, and you got all this stuff going through. You can alleviate every bit of that. Every bit of that. When you're leaving the interview, just set a time. Would it be okay if I follow up with you on next Thursday? Yes. Would morning or afternoon be better? Morning. Great. I'll call you about 10 o'clock. Is that okay? We have a phone appointment at 10 o'clock. I'm going to follow up. Then if you don't follow up, you're a putz. Right? And if you do follow up, you're professional, on time, and you have no reason to not follow up and no reason to be scared when you dial the phone because they're expecting your call. Set an appointment for the follow-up and take yourself right straight through. Basic sales technique is all that is. It helps you avoid call reluctance, we would say in sales. And then, by the way, when you go in to meet with a company, send them a thank you note. As soon as you hit the front door, go to a restaurant, sit down on stationery, do a handwritten thank you note, drop it in the mail right back to them so it's there the next morning. Send a thank you note. Don't send a bouquet of flowers. They'll think you're flirting. Send a simple thank you note. Don't overdo it. People freak out and go, this one's a little weird. You know, but a simple thank you note's going, this one's got a little class that the average character doesn't have. Use those kinds of things. That'll get you into places.
All right, that's enough of that music. All right. So, couple of recaps there. He says you're the product, and make yourself the best one available. All right. Definitely be on time. Don't show up late for an interview. As I say, you only have one chance to make a first impression. Plan to be there 10, 15 minutes early. You can kill time, if you get there too early. Firm handshake, he said. I don't know, with today's current environment, maybe it's a elbow bump. I'm not sure. That's changed just a little bit. Good eye contact and using their name in a conversation. Everybody wants to hear their name, hopefully, in a good light. And then the big thing also is follow up. Follow up with them via email. He recommended a handwritten note. Sometimes, if decisions are going to be made the next day or two, you may not have time for a handwritten note. So you may want to just follow up with a quick email. Hey, I appreciated meeting you today, and you invest in your time in meeting me, and I look forward to hearing back from him. I'm very impressed with what your company's doing. Don't make it too long and wordy. Just again, a good follow up showing your initiative that, hey, I really want to come work for you guys. What else? I think that's it. Any thoughts or comments on you guys? Dress for the job. If you're going for a landscape position, you may not wear a coat and tie, but you might wear a nice pair of slacks and a nice golf shirt. Dress for what the company and what the job entails. Kind of be in line or congruent with that. Be positive. Think about, everybody said, two of the common questions, and one of them I absolutely hate is, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And you always kind of stammer around as far as, you really don't want to talk about your weaknesses or negatives. So I would, see if you can kind of turn that around and make a negative a positive. My weakness is public speaking, but I did public speaking this year at Benedictine in my speech classes or theology classes and speeches, and I'm getting much better at it. So kind of minimize the weaknesses and try to put a positive spin on that, because you don't want to give them reasons not to hire you. Just be enthusiastic, happy that you're there. Be engaging. Do a lot of listening. Definitely don't interrupt or cut the conversation, cut the interviewer's conversation off, but and give nice, decent answers at the end, or when it's your turn to talk. All right. Other thoughts, comments, questions? All right. We're 10 minutes early. I'll want to say that I enjoyed having you for the one semester. I hope overall the combination of the accounting class and the finance class was good for you. We did it differently this year with breaking it up with Coach Perdone doing the accounting part of it, since that was either a major or minor for him in college, and that was probably, I would assume in your eyes, and that the reason we did it in this order, particularly with the seniors in mind, was to put the little more difficult, challenging part of the class the first semester, and the less challenging part of the class the second semester, just because we all kind of get, even us that aren't seniors, get senioritis that last quarter, which this quarter. This hasn't been anything like we had hoped or envisioned. But in a normal year, and that's why we did it the way it is. So if you've got some thoughts or ideas like, no, we ought to go reverse the order on it, or any other ways that you can think of that we can improve this class and make it more productive. You know, if we had not gone to this virtual Zoom school stuff, you know, it would have, we did what, 7, 8, we did eight of the 12 or so chapters. We probably would have, you know, knocked at least 2, if not 3 more of the chapters out. But you've got your book there, and like I said, you can get online if you want to watch the videos for chapters 8, 9, 10, and 12. You know, I think if you're going to do it before July 1, because I think they'll cut off our access, because it's kind of a 1-year account for the class. All right. Questions, comments?
No, sir, Mr. Gaffney. It was a great year, sir.
Love you, Coach.
All righty.
I'll see you next year.
I miss that we're not down in the Colonial Heights at the baseball field about right now for the.
I know. Have a good summer, sir. I'll see you next year. Make sure to come see you first thing.
All right. Everybody have
All right.
stay safe. Maybe see
Yes,
you
sir.
in-
Have a great summer.
All right,
George.
Mr. Gaffney, busy now.
Mr. Gaffney, have a good one.
Keep
Take it
on
easy.
rocking in the free world and do.
All right. We'll see you.